Hey guys, welcome back. This is Warhammer Anonymous. We're here at the Geekery in Shawnee, Kansas. This is going to be an interesting one for this month's kind of Warhammer catch-up. There have been a bunch of releases. We've got War Zone GT Season 2 Nephilim, the Balance Dataslate, the points changes, whole new Warhammer that's not 9th edition. Or 10th edition? Yeah.
Pretty 10.
Not 10th edition, but feels a whole lot like a new edition.
9.5.
What we thought we would do is we'd get some of the teammates' first initial thoughts of what we think, armies we think that are going to be hit the most, hit the worst, and then their armies in particular that they're playing, how they feel these changes has affected them, where they think they're going to fall in the meta, and if they're going to abandon armies, jump ship, and move to something else. So I figured that would be a lot of fun. I've got a couple of really interesting hot takes for this. I'm gonna go out and say it, internet, I don't care what you say. I think this might end up being the healthiest version of Warhammer 40K that we could get. We were already really, really close, minus a couple of real big underdogs, Demons, Imperial Guard, and then some way overperformers, Tyrannid, Harlequins, Eldar, and this addressed pretty much all of those problems. We'll see if those problems that were addressed were enough. We'll definitely get some of y'all's thoughts on that. But I think it's going to be a real interesting environment. We are going to run a new update RTT here at the Geekery on Saturday?
Yep.
So
Saturday, June 25th.
we're going to get a real quick preview. Hopefully we have those books in our hands for the secondaries so we can really see how they play, because that is also the biggest change to this edition. And then 2 weeks after that, we've got Show Me Showdown here in Kansas City. And that will be, I believe, in BCP, the first GT to run Nephilim. Is that correct?
I think so.
From
That's
what I
probably
can
right.
see?
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine anybody on 4th of July weekends
On 4th of July playing an event.
is
Yeah.
playing an event, and 1 week's not enough time.
Yeah.
The 2 weeks that we'll get until the second weekend in July is pretty much the
And then
the
have we
limit.
gotten a number on how many people are in Show Me right now?
120.
120, so it's fully sold
120.
out.
Fully sold out. It's a
I think
major.
people are going to be excited to play at it, so full major event, so it's going to be relevant to see what shakes the meta up. So I'll go over my idea first. I've been running Tyrannids. I was already pre-preparing for the CP changes and some of the points changes when I built my army to begin with. I saw things that people were playing that were problems, this guy right here, and I said, I don't want to play those because I think they're going to get hit with points changes. And I was able to dodge the most of it. Carnifexes did get hit. That caught me a little bit by surprise. The biggest catch was the Tyrannifexes. I don't know anybody who was playing Tyrannifexes but me, and they still got a 15-point increase on the acid spray. So my list changed by about 125 points. But I think it came out of it pretty okay. I lost the Maliceptor, which everybody knew was coming. So Maliceptor was already close due to the first data slate change. After the points increase, going to the shelf, kid.
Put her on the shelf.
You got the good Games Workshop double nerf, which meant never played again. So really feel bad for that guy. But the one big sad that I have about the changes are I do think Kraken and Leviathan are going to be the only functional way to play Tyranids. I don't think any of the fringe builds, like I was playing Jormungandr for a while, are going to be viable anymore. I think you're going to be pigeonholed, which is a big sad, but I think if you still want to keep that win rate up, that's what you're doing. I do think that Terry with her 30 Termagants is going to show up more often because the double Hive Tyrants are not going to show up. And then speaking of the Hive Tyrants, John and I were talking for the NIDS change. Did you ever think that they were going to be able to convince you to not bring a Hive Tyrant?
Absolutely not. I can't remember the last time I ran a list without a Flyrant in it.
And the Reaper Obliterex was that good.
And, you know, when we were talking about Tyranids,
Your list was
every
1,800
list
points.
started with the Flyrant with the Reaper of Obliterax, and there was never any conversation about should I not take this unit. And so I think it's real healthy for the game that now I think you have an active choice to make. Do you bring that guy and play him a little more cagey? Do you swap him out for the Walkrents with the Shard Gullets? Or do you say, you know what? 200 plus points for a Hive Tyrant, that I'm going to lose my Imperatives if he dies. I'm probably going to need to bring some Tyrant Guard to make sure he doesn't die on turn 1. So now I'm looking at 350 points of investments.
360, 370 an investment to play him.
Do I take it out?
That's the question.
I cannot remember the last time I've even contemplated no Hive Tyrant on my list.
Especially once the Reaper existed.
And once the Reaper existed, it wasn't even a question.
Yep.
2 weeks ago when the CP rumors came out, it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll go from 2 Hive Tyrants down to 1 to save the CP. And now it's actually like a viable choice. Do I go 0?
You go 0. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's on the table. And I think that's good for balance.
I think we're there too. I think Tyranids are definitely going to come out of the S tier. They may hover top of A, but I don't think they're going to be in the 65+% win rate that they're at.
But I think Tyranids are going to be just fine, because I think the book's really deep. I think a lot of the data sets are really efficient on their own.
Nobody was bringing Trigons, nobody was bringing Molochs.
Yeah.
They were still completely playable, but nobody played them.
Don't think there's going to be 75% win rate
75%.
nonsense, and that's good.
Y'all's takes on Tyranids? I know that y'all aren't playing them, but you've been on the table with us.
You don't think they're going to go down below like a 58%, do you?
I think we're going to be just under 60% win rate right now. I think that's going to be
still
healthy.
great.
I think that's still fantastic.
There's I'm not considering switching to Drukhari, my other army. I'm taking Tyranids to show me, because I think Tyranids give me the best chance of doing well.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too.
I'm running the 2 big bricks of Warriors and Leviathan, and those guys just smack.
And they're hard to get off the table.
They're hard to get off the table.
For their points, they are hard to shift.
They're going to kill whatever they touch.
Even after the nerf yesterday.
Even 5 points up, doesn't matter. They're still,
5
in my
points,
opinion, the most efficient data slate in that
30-point
book.
model in the book.
Yeah, I think it's the best data slate in the book, and I'm going to run as many of them as I can.
All right. So speaking of Drukhari, they seem to have completely gone under the radar. Drukhari was already sitting at above a 57% win rate.
Yep.
So they were still doing good. The rack list was winning GTs. So they didn't see any changes in the data slate. Was there any points changes for Drukhari?
Witches came down 2 points.
Witches came down. So they actually got buffs for a winning army. So I think that'll be one that to look out for to really battle the top slots, because everybody's being brought down around them,
I think
and they weren't bad.
I think it's a witch cult build that can work, where you bring a lot of Hellions, a lot of jet bikes, some witches.
So the Harlequins build before Harlequins came out.
Correct.
Yes.
Because I think you can take the +1 to wound monsters, and I think poison shots. I think that actually plays into Tyranids pretty well.
Into the Tyranids matchup.
I think that plays Tyranids well.
So I think that's our pick for flying under the radar is going to be Drukhari. You might see some Eldar and some Harlequins players jumping ship from a auto-win army to an army that they had to really play. So I think that might be happening to a lot of these top players. Logan, Orcs.
We came out clean. I loved everything that came out of it. We got
the Wa!
The new Wa. We just played it against Death Guard, one of the hardest armies to ship off the table. Boys are getting at least 20 plus attacks into Terminators.
Yeah.
So make you roll 1s, string 7 on the charge, and Goffs as I play them. I mean, they feel really good and they punch up. They always punched up well, but they punch up even better. Yeah.
Yep.
And then with the 5-up, especially turn 1 and 2, it made a huge difference into Mortarion.
It was shockingly.
Yeah.
It was I don't know what the phrase is, as much of a shock as the guard hitting on 6s auto wounding. It doesn't seem like it's going to do a whole lot until you look at it. It's just like, oh crap.
Until you realize at the end of turn 1 there's still a third more orcs around than you thought there should be.
Now that was the biggest thing is we would be able to do the initial hit, but if we didn't clear everything, it was like, okay, we lost half our army.
Yeah.
But with that 5-up, it really makes it, especially and then touching into everything. Like you're like, cool, I'm gonna pile into everything.
Now, I know that Orcs are going to take a slight hit to the fact that they were running like triple patrol or gas plus double control and tuning up all the characters. That is no longer an option. So my question to the Orcs players is gas colon auto include now?
Yes, absolutely.
You need that second punchy character.
Take him into Supreme, get your 3 extra CP, and then kit out the other 2 or 3, whatever you want to bring. I mean, you see a lot of the Meganobs list. You throw, a Beast Boss or even like a souped up War Boss in Mega Armor, and you're still sitting at 4 CP.
Yeah.
I mean, you're up there really high.
And your strats aren't the best, so
No.
spending it all pregame doesn't hurt Orcs all that much.
No, and I mean, like, honestly, I had so much CP through the game because I didn't really get to use it. I mean, it was like, okay, I can do my majors like ramming speed and stuff like that, or exploding 5s and 6s, but it really lets us play. It lets us play the game, and like I think we're gonna surprise a lot of people with one. We were always quick, but now we hit even harder.
And I know you've been running the boys on squigs with the changes back to buggies, or I should say buggies, to all of the wagon or what the small vehicles.
Yeah, buggies.
The buggies, yeah,
Yeah.
buggies. Do you think people come back to either like triple squig buggy or triple jet? Like, is that a thing, or do you think that is a army of the past?
I think they do come back, but they don't come back as the Army of Renown. They come back.
I think that's gone.
They come back as freebooters with gas in it, because then you get the full wall.
The full wall.
So every buggy gets a 5-up for the first turn, and then
And
a
you
6
still
up.
get your speed wall.
And you still get your speed wall. So you're getting the extra AP, the extra shots. You get the 5-up, the 6-up, because they specified it just to orcs.
Yeah,
As long as you were
we
an
double
orc.
checked that.
Yeah.
As long as you can activate the wall, orc models get 5-up involts.
Yep.
/6-up involts.
So I think we'll if we do see like the shooty orcs, it'll come back to probably freebooters, and they'll look really good. Something we talked about is like those lists love to take WAS bombs, and on WAS bombs you always took the blasted jet force field, which now with the turn 1, turn 2,
It's like 40 points. 30 points you don't need to spend, possibly.
Well, and you can bring the Death Coptas, not immediately pick them all up the next turn.
Yeah.
Death Coptas with involts.
Yeah.
Like,
And that
ram-
seems really
And
good.
they still
That
got
seems
Ramshackle.
nuts,
Like,
yeah.
And that real subtle change of it's 3 of each buggy
Yeah.
models,
Is it-
not one
if you've
unit.
got those empty fast attack slots, a 100 point, a 100 point, a 100 point buggy, suddenly you're on the table. And this is my thought. I think it's dirty. The dragsters that can teleport, that's a really good engage in all fronts target. You can teleport them whenever you want. 3 individual units, they're 100 points each. They still shoot pretty good. I think orcs have definitely gotten some play. We were probably suffering top C, low B earlier. Do you think this brings them into that A tier? Do you think you can compete with all the Armor of Contempt, everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main things are that we're going to struggle with are things that stick around. But many of the things that you see are stuff that hit really hard. But if you get into them, they're really not that tough. Nids will still be a tough matchup. You guys are really tough to get off the table. But like Eldar losing all the extra shots and the auto wounding, I mean, the far flung, all that.
Yeah.
They're still going to delete whatever they look at, but
At least you get to roll
But you
dice
can
first.
punch
and
them back.
You can punch them back. I think Space Marines are going to get really hurt by orcs. I think it's because we're such high strength.
It's enough volume
Yeah.
that the Armor of Contempt you can get through.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Dylan. I think you're our ace in the hole. Death Guard, I think, are a surprise big winner that nobody saw coming from this thing. Almost all of the demon engines go down in points. I think the average Death Guard, what do y'all say? 200 points almost?
200 points. I think the biggest winner is Plague Marines. And
Boy, I hope that's a mistake, guys.
I did like the maxed out Plague Marines what I could earlier for partially kicks and giggles. There may be a 30 Plague Marine list, 3 Rhino lists in the works. My troop slot alone was nearly, what was it? 95. It was almost 300 points saved on the troop slot, which
So anybody who
should
didn't
not
look
make
at
sense.
the points changes, something that Games Workshop has been doing when they do the points updates, for instance, if you go look at the knobs section of the points update, knobs went down 1 point, but all of their equipment is still on that list. So you got to pay for claws and shooters and all that stuff. If you go to the Plague Marine section of that points update, Plague
There's
Marines
one
went down to
weapon.
21 points.
Yeah.
21 points a model, and all of their war gear options minus the flamer.
which big
All of them.
BFD, like
Yeah.
Flamer, when it is pointed, I'm not taking the Flamer. I'm taking melee weapon
But
surprise.
all the melee upgrades this unit can take are not listed, which, by the way, they've been doing other lists, makes them free. So what should have been a 300-point unit of Plague Marines is now 210 points, completely cooled up. I'm sorry, every single weapons option, not even any of them.
Yeah.
So they are 100%. 210 for a 10-man unit. Really get your Rhino for free. Take every upgrade, get your Rhino for free is what this is.
You get
I mean, other.
More than free.
More than free.
I mean, I think other winners. I mean, personally, I love Mortarion. I was taking him every game anyways. But the 40-point discount buys him and a Terminator at his old points. So get you that 1/3 of a Death Shroud squad, fine points for the other two.
And then the hidden shenanigans. Why is a Plague Burst Crawler 140 points, kids? How many wounds are they? 13?
12.
12 wounds,
Only
T8,
only
5 up
T8,
invuln,
5
reduce
up
damage by
invuln.
1.
Yeah. The biggest thing that came out of this, though, before a lot of Death Guard players were taking Inexorable for that sweet -2 to charge strat, I can live with some things charging me out of Deep Strike now. Cool. Poxmongers. That way you can get all the new Demon Engine toys you're taking out. 4 up invuln.
4 up invulns.
I stick 2 Blight Haulers, 4 up invuln, RD1 on a piece of terrain on an objective I want to hold.
yeah.
Take it away from me.
Yeah, I think Death Guard's definitely coming out of this pretty positive. They were already looking pretty good with the OBSEC on all the Terminators. So now you get all your Demon Engine support at a massive discount. People were complaining about Carnifexes at sub 120 points. Plague Burst Crawlers and Mephilic Blight Haulers are going to be right in that same problem.
So Kyle, Dylan and I played a game earlier this week. I was playing Nids at the new points, Dylan was playing at the old points, and it felt like a really fair game.
Fair game.
Could have gone, either way, depending on play, depending on some dice rolls. But now Dylan's list got another 200 to 300 points.
It's got 200 points.
I don't have to worry about the Knights supporting more, which was I running Knights in that game?
You ran the 3 Armigers.
So that's the other one. Death Guard don't need Knight support anymore. I know
Everything's cheap.
most of us did not have time to play with that, but
Seriously.
It was pretty effective.
yes.
But now this is better and more CP effective, right?
Talk about a
Yep,
useless
I
rule
think.
since they
Oh,
wrote it.
that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I started my
Validate it,
list
right?
with 5 CP Mortarian's Warlord traits, so I could afford to waste CP. I feel like now Death Guard should have those times where I don't know how many of you guys played with new CP rules yet, but it was even really skimpy on. I can't reroll this. Normally I would. Now Death Guard can be in that place with the Tallymanigan, again, which now he's.
Dude, his stomps
He
went up.
needed to get hit with 10 or 15 points. I'll say that.
Because he's worth a CP, and the CP is
But-
premium.
I multiple times in me and Logan's game we just played, I was like, I'll reroll that.
Yeah.
You can still have those quality of life
Quality
of
life
CPs, as opposed to the rest of us who are like, do I really need this? I need to just cut this out. Yeah, I'm not going to reroll that one.
Now, I do still think Death Guard has some problems. They still aren't the fastest army, but their durability is going to be there, and they've still got the OBSEC. So I think they're going to be able to play a little bit higher up from where they were, but I don't think they're in winning GT position. They're going to have to really show me they are. But I do think they are going to be the bane of the mid-tables. That someone's not going to be prepped. They're going to get that DR1 right in their face, and they're going to the loser's bracket.
And I think the biggest thing I found in my games with the new points and all that, I've gone from a partially aggressive, partially defensive list to I'm going to sit up to the midpoint for 2 turns and then I'll push out once I'm done targeting.
Get in the midfield, stay in the midfield.
I gotta disagree with the statement. I think DGs are great. I think so. Prior to this, one of the GT winning lists was a 777 Plague Marine inside of Rhinos. That went up exponentially.
I said
It's going
that
to be 10,
list
10, 10 right now.
was already seeing ish play and performing well, and it got really 300 points.
But I think the main thing that we haven't touched on are their secondaries. Like, they don't have to leave.
That's what we're going to get. We're going to cover what our thoughts on our secondaries, because that is, I think, the biggest change to this entire season.
Which
Now we get to talk to what I think is the middle of the road, and my personal opinions, the saddest section in the entire game, which is Marines. I have a theory on Marines. Marines were doing solid. They were coming up. They got Armor of Contempt. They were eking their way. Blood Angels were making T-Whip in events. They were making top 8s.
There was a couple good performing lists.
There were a couple of good performing
Salamanders
lists.
were doing okay.
Salamanders came out of the woodwork. Nobody was playing Salamanders. But then this is my thing. The armies who were overperforming on Marines, they are getting brought down, but I don't think they're getting brought down to where Marines are going to be crushing them. So I think those games might get a little bit closer, but I think those Tyranids, Eldar, they're still going to take Marine lists sometimes, most of the time. The big problem for Marines is everybody underneath them. The Orc players, the Necrons players, they got such a big jump.
Sisters are super hard.
Sisters, I think, are straight to the S tier right now. They were already top of A, moving into S. Skilled Sisters players were winning. And they got points decreases, rules increases over the last couple of data slates. Every one of their secondaries is playable. And they've got Armor of Contempt. Sisters are prepped. So speaking of the Sisters, what's our thoughts on Marines? How are you looking?
All right. So hi, my name's Jeremy. I've had some pretty good success with Iron Hands over the past 9 months. Just as a background, it's comfortably going 4-1 at GTs. I won a couple top tables in the past 9 months with a list that famously started at 1 CP.
1 out of 12 CP.
1 out of 12.
Yeah,
1 out of 6.
Well, and then without a free relic and whirler trait, that would now be -7 CP that list would start at.
Yeah, completely unviable. Not even from
Yeah,
conception.
it just completely changed the list. I've changed my Iron Hands to a pretty middle of the road, still starting at 0 CP now.
Boy, strats feel real good at 0 CP.
Yeah, it's
You guys rely pretty heavy on strats.
Every turn.
every
At least
turn.
consistently every turn.
Every turn, Iron Hands are wanting to put something in Devastator. If they have the CP, they're wanting to add full rerolls to another vehicle. They're wanting to, give their one infantry squad a 5 of Film Bane.
And you gotta think, all of the quality of life strats they had out the window. 2 CP to stop a psychic test?
No, never.
Absolutely not. You are never using that.
Not even to win a game.
Not even to win a game. That is the most important power in the turn. That's double move on that unit. I guess they're double moving.
Because you're never going to have the 2 CP sitting there.
Correct.
Has it forced you to push to a later game strat? Because that's what it seems like.
No, oddly, it
You lean further into the beginning of the game.
You lean further into trying to win the coin toss of winning turn 1, which is miserable. It's a miserable
miserable existence.
Yeah, it's a miserable playstyle.
All right, let's see who wins. Oh, great game.
Well, it's not even that. It's let's see if I have a chance
to play in this game.
So you win the coin flip.
And
then
now you
have
gotta
a
work for
50%
it.
chance to win.
Yeah, and now if I pick up enough points turn 1, it's an actual game.
Yeah.
Correct.
But man, it's not looking good. But I have a lot of reps with other Space Marine lists. I think Dark Angels got a little bit better. They weren't really a CP reliant chapter anyways.
Nope, that's the best part.
But we haven't really talked. Blood Angels got like 70 extra points in all their meta lists.
Of the Marines, I do think Blood Angels are coming out of this looking pretty good. Now, people were doing Blood Angels successors. I do think we're going to stop seeing that. I think the character premium is a little bit too high. Asterath going down, all of those guys. I think you bring the named characters now. But the key was the Sanguinary Guard, 2 points cheaper.
Death Company.
Death Company, 2 points cheaper.
A couple named characters got 10 points here and there.
You give that army 90 points. I think Blood Angels of the Marines are coming out of this looking pretty good, which is just a little depressing, but I think they may be the only Marines that you really see in this T-Whip position right now.
Yeah.
At the GT major level.
You think Wolves though?
To be fair, there is with Hail of Doom losing Ignore Light Cover. There is
the sneaky.
There is a good argument to be made for Space Wolves. Again,
For Space Wolves.
They still struggle in the Nids, but who doesn't?
Yeah.
But they are significantly better now into L's.
Into L's.
And hey, every Space Wolf list, or most of them, has got 4 or 5 dreads that they're going to try to put in light cover with that psychic
Armor of
spell.
Contempt, light cover,
So
negative
now-
1 to be hit.
So now you have, instead of not getting saves against the Dire Avengers,
You get to roll something.
now you have 5-ups.
Yeah, you get to roll.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
And against all the other shots in the Shuriken list, that aren't the 6s, you're getting 2-up saves.
Yep, exactly.
And so it's going to let your dreads get that extra turn up the board, and your Wolfen and your Wolf Guard. And
Now, do you think it is successor Space Wolves, or is it Space Wolves?
I still think you just bite the bullet.
Pay the CP, pay the characters.
You pay the CP, you pay the detachment costs, and you go full successor still, because they were the only ones that were reliably punching up.
Yeah, I agree.
A 5-man Wolfguard squad in the successors, they just hit harder than they do in normal Space Wolves.
Yeah,
They just do. You know, once you hit that turn 3, or you're spending the 1 CP to put your 1 infantry squad into Assault Doctrine turn 2 that you know is going to make the 2-inch charge.
And then 6s.
Yeah, and you chapter master them, you send them forward, you fish for 6s, and
blow up whatever it touches.
before you know it, you have a 130% hit rate.
Yeah,
and so it's just
10 hits or 35, same thing.
Yeah.
I think we've covered our armies. We think that we know how they're going to do. Now, this is the question. I think this is the biggest play of Season 2 is going to be the secondaries. Good old stranglehold to the last. Out the window. So I'm a terrible human. I played to the last strangle like every single game. I was that guy. I've got to figure out a whole new way to play Warhammer 40K, and I am totally happy with that. I think this edition may become the hardest edition to balance, though, due to secondaries. I think your racial secondaries for what army you're bringing can make or break an army. And that's why I think Sisters are going to be number 1. Sisters, every single secondary they have, plus the ones from the book normally, they're going to be able to get 95 plus points. And I don't think a lot of armies can say that. I was playing Dark Angels, Stubbornly Defiant got hit, Oath of Moment got hit. I could take both of them, but I'm not getting 15 and 15. I'm getting 10 and 8.
Oath Moment got hit hard.
Oath got hurt. It's a trap now almost. You used to be able to kind of make up those points late game where you get your 13.
You could sit on it.
You
didn't have to
sandbag.
you didn't have to score your points the first 2 turns.
Yeah. And now, like, you got to be in that center, or you're not getting 10 points out of it, and that's where you fall into the trap.
With something important.
What?
With something important.
With something good. Like, it's got to live.
You can't put a land speeder in the middle anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because they moved it to core.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be the models you play the game
You
with.
have to put something
No
important.
throwaways. So even going second's not super useful on Oath of Moment because there's not a throwaway to throw up there. So I said Marines really hurt by this. Death Guard coming out squeaky clean. All of your secondaries are mostly playable. Just if they've got multiple units with multiple models, kill 7 of them, cause them to fail some morale within a risen, boom, 15 points for Death Guard. Spread the sickness, you don't even take the mortals anymore. Just get to objectives, 3, 6, 9, 12. Boom, you're getting your
It's
points.
better than that. It's 4 if it's outside your deployment zone.
Oh, okay, so our 15. Get our 15 for spread the sickness.
Solid 11, 15.
NIDS, they've got the anti-elite one, which is the synaptic.
So the NID ones are all playable. They're a little situational depending on the matchup, but I think you can make all of them work.
Mm-hmm.
But they're situational.
So I
there's
think
the anti-elite one. Your opponent has to give that to you.
Terminators,
Death
stupid
Guard,
squeaky boys,
Mega Knobs.
Mega Knobs, exactly. So I think that's the problem with NIDS. NIDS are going to have to play the game. I think NIDS are still on the I tabled my opponent and took all the objectives train. I think that's how they're still going to win.
But NIDS are also like perfect for psychic interrogation.
Oh no, but they've got that pocket.
You can take psychic interrogation. Spore nodes, I think, is a real good secondary.
Yeah, that's
as long as you bring some troops to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the other one you can do matchup dependence.
You could do matchup dependence.
And cranial feasting, the one where you kill the sergeants or the characters.
If your opponents are bad, they'll let you have that one. It's true. Or if you are Kraken heavy melee, you can build for that one.
It's a different assassinate.
Correct. You can get your points if you're planning for it.
I think you guys come out like a bandit with like an interrogation with all the pluses.
I think every psychic army is going to have the most play unless you are the best secondaries out of your own book.
That's I know it's publicly announced, but being able to take multiple faction secondaries, because there's multiple games before where it was like, I want to take this, but I also want to take this. Which one's gonna be better?
I think that's why I'm saying this book is going to be all about your secondaries. I think you can make or break armies on that. Marines, did any of them get great secondaries?
Great.
Like I'm taking this thing. Like I don't even think the Blood Angels one is, because it's all about killing in melee.
And none of them are really auto take. They're all there's more interesting choices at the
things that you
table.
could take.
A couple of the Space Wolf ones, we're talking about like Space Wolves are probably still gonna be doing okay. A couple of Space Wolf ones got better,
but
they're not auto take.
They're not on us.
They're still you have to make the decision at the table, and then your opponent has to let you do it.
Warrior Pride got a little hurt. That one was easy to score though.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that I want to cover is the two other boogeymen, Eldar Harlequins. We can all say goodbye to our Harlequin overlords. I believe light, dark, not mirror, but that's luck dice.
Yeah.
They didn't need the points adjustment. They needed rules, and boy, they gave them the Custodes treatment. Harlequins got fixed. Eldar, all encompassing for the Hail of Doom. So there is talk of Oathway or Farce. What's the other one? No, I guess Oathway. That's really Oathway.
It's Oathway.
So Oathway or Hail of Doom are still probably going to be the top picks, but at least this bridges the gap. They were a very CP heavy army to begin with, so just the changes to CP really hurts Eldar. So that might bring them out. Fire and Fade going down to 1 use per game, and then the Battle Focus move being a reroll, not an automatic 6. They're going to be stuck out sometimes. So Eldar, I think, are hampered, but I still think coming out pretty good. Highly psychic army, still get psychic interrogation, warp ritual. They still move really far. They still shoot a ton of shots. I think Eldar's still going to be one of the top performers, but definitely reined in.
I think they'll struggle with armies that can play the entire 5 turns, like Death Guard and stuff like that, because...
Well, I'm hoping games go 5 turns. That's the best part about this edition,
yeah.
I think.
I think they will.
I think they will.
I think it's really changed a lot. I think you'll see a lot of Uthway with a bunch of vehicles, a lot of the rerolls, and then it's going to be hard to move them off the table. It'll be interesting to see what it kind of changes to. It, not the Hail of Doom where it's like, all right, that thing's
gone.
Just click,
move on to the next objective.
I think Fire Prisons will be a lot of saving grace for other players now. Just bite the bullet, link fire, turn 1, and hope whatever's scary gets slowly off the table.
Just shoot what you can.
There was that silent change that came through that transports have to have something
People in it.
So that's probably going to be a little bit of a hampering, but outside of that, not
Affected
much.
every single one of my lists.
Yeah, as a Marine players with their Land Speeder Storm, they got the. I don't know how that looks like a targeted shot at them. Nobody else was really transporting without anybody in them when it was a dedicated transport. But boy, Land Speeder Storms, there's a shelf right over here for you.
There's still play in Iron Hands with scouts in Land Speeder Storm, but it requires a different type of list.
Yep. And then I think that brings us to coming to the end. I think everybody I wanted to do a highlight. I think what you think is going to be the top. What do you think still needs some help? And then what is your super sneaky getting the best out of the data slate? Maybe it doesn't make them the best winning faction, but who do you think grew the most? I've said mine. I think Sisters are coming out blazing on this thing. I think armies that still need a lot of help. Demons, Imperial Guard. Sorry, kids. You're sitting at the bottom of the track still. Wait for your codexes. We will see you at the end of the year, I guess, because I think Marines are getting Codex 2.0 before both of those armies are getting their Codex. So, long haul it is for you. But my stealthy overall winner, Death Guard was close, but I'm doing it Necrons. I think everybody in the net's in the same way. Everything gets core. They've functionally broken the game now. Who knows what's going to happen with them? They got 100, 200 points per list. Necrons and every one of Necron's secondaries is playable.
Yeah. They auto-score.
Kill stuff with lords. Keep people out of table quarters. Boom. Get you 12 points. Get you 15 points. Necron, I think, are coming from that 40% win rate right into A tier. I don't think they're going to overtake the game. I could be proven wrong.
I think they're going to about 55.
55-ish?
Yeah.
Dude, 55's a jump, man.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's a jump.
They already played the game great. They were losing their games by 8 points.
This close,
Yeah.
man.
And their secondary game and the extra 200 points that every single list got to add in more action monkeys and
their
offset.
strats aren't great. And it wasn't like their Warlord traits and relics, so the CP's not what was keeping them
Yeah,
down.
it's not the CP. That's not what was.
It was
doing
negative 1 to wound on score packs. That's what you were doing, man.
Yeah.
Negative 1 to wound on score packs.
Yeah, I mean, our Necron player said that he thinks reliably many of the Necron lists can score 75 easy.
Just playing.
Just playing. That's without like taking chances, anything. You're getting 75 points.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
John, your sneakies. What's your predictions?
All right, so I think Harlequins got hit the most.
Harlequins hit the most.
I wouldn't be surprised if Harlequins are just gone. Put them on the shelf. Everyone on.
Yeah.
All Harlequin players own Craft Worlds too. I think you put your Harlequins away, you pick up your Craft Worlds.
Do you think the patrol?
I think you could splash them in.
But they are not a.
They are not a
leader.
standalone army.
There we go. That's what I want to see.
That you will not see pure Harlequins.
You've got 6 data slates. You don't deserve your own army.
They're in the book. I don't think they were meant to be.
So Harlequins got the biggest.
The biggest
whack.
axe.
I think Death Guard got the biggest glow up.
Okay.
I think that 300 points. I think you're going to get surprised by how much they stick around.
Over 50.
Yes.
Over 50.
And then the person who still needs the most help is Guard. I think Guard, they keep getting these tiny little tweaks, and maybe eventually they'll add up. But I think the fundamental problem with Guard is I spend my first 2 turns clearing your screens, I tag all your tanks on turn 3, and then you just get to stop playing the game.
You hit on
And
4s.
if the tanks survive another half melee phase, whatever, they're
No
still
points
not
for you.
shooting at me.
Yep.
So until Guard gets some kind of mechanic to either shoot the blast weapons in combat or fall back and shoots, I don't see it.
And I think they're giving you points. They're giving you bring it down because that's how they've got to play the game. So they're giving you a secondary, and that's never good. If you're giving your opponent 15 points, if you're giving them 20 assassinate, that's how you're hurting yourself here. Logan, your winners, losers, need help?
Winners, I mean, I'm going to say Orcs because we were struggling for a while, but clear-cut winners for me, I think Necrons and Death Guard.
Necrons and Death Guard?
They both are going to jump up quite a bit, especially when you see like some skilled players pick them up. They just really will score.
People who are already dedicated, sitting at a 50% win rate.
They're just they're going to run tables, and it's the
Feels bad.
The major thing was with Death Guard is you normally would screen them out. That way they couldn't get
it was a movement problem.
Yeah, but they don't need that anymore. They can I think the huge thing that we kind of didn't touch on is Death Rod Terminators went down to 50 points on auto.
Saved what on average?
15.
If you were running those, you're running 15 a unit. That's 45 points. If you run 3 3s and engage on all fronts, you only need to start the game as a 3-man unit. Yeah. So you got to kill 9 wounds of 4-up invuln, T5, reduce damage by 1, or they get their points.
And they hit like a Mack truck.
Oh yeah, they're elite killers.
A single model will still
single model
is something up.
It's a 40-point character. Yeah. That's what they are. Yeah. Every one of them is a 50-point
character with Sergeant Relic can clear a whole table quarter by himself depending on what's in that table quarter.
Yeah, as I said, plays the mission.
Yeah,
that's what they do. So I see it. Biggest loser?
Biggest loser. I mean, I gotta agree. Harlequins got just absolutely knocked out of the sky. Just because.
I know that we all hate seeing a top tier faction get put on the shelf, don't we? Just when you lose your soul to them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Only if most people who got into Harlequins probably have 8 other armies to draw from. So
yeah. And then I think my sneaky's not gonna be like a sneaky army. It'll be like I think Nids got hit harder than people realize. I think it's.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll still be played. They're still very tough. They're very good at playing the game. But I think like these points hits, like especially with you two, I've heard the conversations. It's really been a thought to see what's going to be the best thing for you. And I think getting that big key unit out is going to be tough.
It's definitely have some decisions they have to make.
I've made my joke as the theories and the rumors for the points changes have come out. And I said, if this is how you wanted to play against 2 Neurothropes and 18 Zonethropes, that's how you play against 2 Neurothropes and 18 Zonethropes.
That would be living hell.
And see, nobody wants to have... I would not enjoy playing that list, I'm just saying. All right, man. Final takes.
Biggest winner, I think, is Sisters.
Sisters?
Because we haven't mentioned the Assassinate change yet.
Oh,
Celestine, 3 points.
They love that.
Yep.
They love that. In addition to their...
points.
Yeah, in addition, Grimaldus.
Grimaldus,
in addition to their new secondaries, which are great. I'll keep my biggest loser to actual 9th edition codexes. I think Space Marine troops are still just
So surprising.
they're embarrassing.
Yeah.
Intercessors do nothing for 100 points for five models,
None of the troops do anything.
and you need 3 squads of them.
Yeah.
300 points to start the game, and they do
They're
nothing.
they're the biggest pox of balance in 9th edition codexes. They're the only ones that just, for whatever reason.
Need your
Yeah,
scouts
you guys,
back.
You guys don't have, like, we have Gretchen that we can just throw
This
in
is
there.
scouts are elites, man.
Yeah.
Like you can't even sub the
yeah.
points out
Yeah.
to get in the game.
It's the big math problem for Space Marines going forward over the next 3 months until the next codex comes out.
To see where you get your positives out.
Yeah, for me, I'm just not taking them. I'm just not gonna take troops. I'm just gonna
Pay
spend.
those 3 CP, take a
Yeah.
different detachment,
Yeah.
try to play the game and win.
I would rather have 300 more points of things that can actually
than 3 CP.
possibly
Yeah.
win the game. I'll pay the 1 CP for Rights of War.
Yep.
To keep the OPSEC in the middle of the board where the actual fight's going to be, and I'm just not doing it. I'm just not bringing 300 points of nothing.
Yeah, I feel that tax. I think anybody think this is the bad move moving into season 2, or is everybody looking forward to season 2?
Enjoyed the test games I played. I think most people have that initial like salty moment, as all 40K players do, but once they play it, they enjoy it, or don't whine as much, whichever one.
Well, we're gonna do what Warhammer players do. I don't want to change my list. Too bad. Move on. Play the game.
I think this edition, especially with the changes with Nephilim, is going to show who the good players are.
Oh,
Not,
people actually taking
Yeah.
all of the changes to heart and building a list
Yeah.
compared to this is what was working last week. Everything changed. Let's
Or-
see if that works again still.
or what I mean is more or less like, those people that were like meta chasing and immediately going, okay, this one will delete that. And then now you're going to see where they actually have to play around a lot of their secondaries.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I'm looking forward to is we're getting away from the basically I'm going to script how my game is going to go. I'm going to throw out 1 OBSEC unit a turn to score my Stranglehold.
I'm gonna strangle.
I'm going to have my 3 expensive units in the back that are
Never
never
being
going to
seen.
interact, and I'm going to do,
Psychic
throw some
interrogation.
trash to either interrogate, or I've got a plan to engage or rod or whatever, and I don't have to play the game. I can just move some pieces around and feel pretty good about getting a 97.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
think
how I'm going to win this game. And
I'm super excited about people having to play in the table and play on the mission
I mean, we're
and
playing-
get your tertiary.
Warhammer,
And you-
not Stairhammer.
Yeah.
And I know you think games are all going to be around 80 points now.
I think your average game's gonna drop 10 to 15 points because I know when I was getting to Dallas Open, your winners were scoring 90 plus game after game after game on the mark. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
I think those guys are dropping. I think you're going to be so much closer with your opponent because your guaranteed 15s aren't there that you're going to start picking secondaries because you're like, man, this one gets me 10 points. And you're going to want those 10 points. So I think coming down 10 to 15 points a game from where we were is a very reasonable margin. And the armies who don't have to do that, they're going to be the shining lights who are coming through, man. They're the ones who are like, I'm still getting 95. You got to watch out for them. Because if they're not having to try as hard as you are, that's where the W's are going to come from.
Yep.
Any final words? Anything you think we didn't hit on? Anything crazy out of left field?
I guess I'll add my loser is actually Demons over Guard, only because the list that was consistently good
Triple Patrol, all Greater Demons.
can't be practically ran anymore. And that list also got a points nerf on top of being unrunnable because of CP.
Man, that's
Oh, yeah.
All the slash stuff got hit. The Zinc stuff actually came down, but that's not worth anything until a book comes out. Unfortunately.
I do have one because we didn't cover it, and it was an army that was performing well. And so I think just because nobody here really plays them. Real quick takes.
Thousand Suns.
How do you think Thousand Suns come out on this?
Great.
They were squeezing being in the top.
They're
They
great.
really were.
talk about someone who plays secondaries well.
Yeah, once their secondaries plays them really well.
They have to cast powers in their deployment zone, and they can get 15 points.
And honestly, taking to the last away from them is probably just going to hurt the opponent more, because now you're going to have Terminators in your face instead of...
Because they're going to
Exactly.
just throw everything
Yeah.
up and say, deal with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they don't have to keep them safe anymore.
And I mean, Wrath of Magnus is going to be huge because everyone wants to take Psychers because of
Correct.
Psychic Interrogation.
And that means you're not taking Purge the Witch, because you want to take Psychers because you need Warp Ritual and Psychic Interrogate. So,
Abhor is still a trap against them.
Yep.
Abhor, yeah.
They're so tough.
I think, Thousand Suns could be the other one.
I think they're going to be right there with DG, just really ruling secondaries and being able to score really well.
Anyone know how much cheaper the typical T-Suns list got?
I don't think they got points adjustments
didn't
to
get
anything
more.
relevant. I think it's just the fact that everything around them moved, and they were already a top performer that nobody really talked about. There was always an event with a Thousand Suns player who was sneaking into that top 3, top 4.
Tyranids come down and help them a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was their biggest matchup.
Because that
was
was
the
their
Tyranids.
psychic matchup.
It was a psychic matchup.
I think it's going to be them because they also struggled with picking secondaries. Like, they was always Strangle, it was always to the last.
And they have something they can
now
pull
it's
from.
now they're like, okay, cool, we're going to play we're going to play the psychic game.
Psychic game and see who wins.
I mean, Wrath of Magnus is still highly takeable against most people.
Yeah,
so-
I think they're coming out pretty good. We just don't have anybody who truly plays the hell out of them.
Yeah.
So I think when we go against them, because there'll probably be 1 or 2 at Show Me, that's going to be where we get to see that list come into play.
I do want to ask, what do you think this is going to do to shake up list building? I mean, Show Me's 2 weeks out. We've got some big name players, coming up here. Sherwin, a lot of those guys.
Yep.
Do you think we do a 2-week quick list change, or do you think they stick it out?
So I think your big guys, Art of War, Dan Salmon's around here, I think those guys are going to be changing armies, a lot of them, and a lot of them really changing lists to play this game. They're going to go through that secondary packet. They're going to try to make this as much a to-the-last stranglehold system as they can. The people who are going to suffer are people who are just shifting over. Hey man, I was running a double patrol. I'm just going to have to lose this Warlord trait and a relic. I'm going to start with 0 CP and we're going to see how the event goes. Those guys are going to suffer. I think you're really going to...
I'm not gonna lie, you've looked sad this whole time.
Well, and the only problem is if the guys on Art of War, they have every faction to choose from.
They can pick whatever they want.
Yeah.
I know Jack Harpster was already talking about, he played Sisters in Dallas and got 4th.
Yeah.
Beat me right in the last round. And he's already saying he gained points to make some room and they got better. He's thinking Sisters to the top. I know that they just previewed a game with Necrons and Death Guard.
Yeah.
Both armies played amazing.
They did.
So I think they're prepped to play this meta. They're not playing last week.
No.
They're playing this week.
No.
And I think that's what's going to float to the top.
Just own all the armies, Jeremy.
I do own all the Space Marine armies. My problem is painting. I need to paint a lot.
Just put paint on it.
Yeah.
You
But-
got-
But
It's somebody else's YouTube channel.
yeah, I know,
Slate.
right? Well, hey, thank y'all very much for joining us. That's going to be our hot takes on this. I think we are looking for an exciting shakeup to the meta. We will be here to cover them. We're going to get that packet. We're going to get some test games in. Next week, we are going to have one of those for you. And then we will be back, hopefully, after Show Me Showdown with some W's in our pocket. We will see you guys next time. Thank y'all very much.
Bye, guys. Jeremy, you just look